Hey folks, doing some social distancing today and laying my phone down on the ground, but I worked my way from a really shallow backwater area to a little bit deeper coming out of the backwater area, and now I'm getting into bigger fish and crappie as well. Start out with a lot of small fish. That's what I do. Sometimes I'll start super shallow when I'm fishing for springtime crappie and panfish, and then kind of back off until I find the fish. Lots of fish, really small. It was almost perfect. Lots of fish really small, really shallow. And then as I went a little bit deeper, a little bit bigger fish, kind of like, 5-6 inches. And now I've gotten probably at about a 3-foot range and a lot bigger fish. I'll probably be able to catch some decent crappie out here and more crappie too. So doing some social distancing and some fishing. It's been awesome so far. Caught a lot of fish. Some fish. I'm using actually a braided leader that's waxed to make it float on the end of my fly line, about a 3-foot braided leader. I'm using that as a strike indicator. Whoops. Then I'm running about a foot of, just a foot, real basic foot of tippet off of that, and then a little green weenie, and I'm catching fish. Catch one more. I've been catching fish on almost every cast. Catching fish on almost every cast. There's a small crappie right there. Nothing really huge, but I'm using off my fly line, floating fly line, I'm using a braided leader that's waxed for a strike indicator. It's about 3 foot long. The fish are biting really finicky, and so I'm using about 2 foot of tippet off of that braided leader. And then what's happening is the green weenie I have is just kind of going about maybe a foot under the water and about 3 foot of water, and the crappie and the sunfish are coming up after it. It's definitely the best presentation. A lot of people are coming to this area and they're leaving. They're using floats and so forth, and I just think that's too much resistance right now. Their floats, I think the fish are hitting it and then just letting it go. Whereas this fly line setup that I have with my 3-weight, my 8-foot 3-weight is working perfectly, and I'm catching lots of fish. No! I just got it caught on my my backpack, my extra rod pieces from my. Dropped another one. lost them. Oh, missed another one. I'm missing them almost every cast. They're really biting light. They're really biting light. Ah, missed another one. There we go. Got a hook into this one, I think. It's a pretty good crappie, not huge. Lots of crappie today, lots of crappie. I'll explain my setup a little bit more, my approach a little bit more in a little video after I'm done, but I'm gonna kind of sign off with the fishing now. Okay, had a really good time out on the water today. Caught a ton of crappie, bluegill, and some perch as well. Just pretty much bites on about every cast. I just wanted to go over kind of my setup here, just so you know what I'm throwing and how I'm fishing for the fish. There are a lot of anglers, not a lot, not a ton, but there were a number of anglers down there. A lot of them struggled today. I think a lot of it was because just their floats and so forth were just so buoyant, the fish were hitting and just letting go. Whereas my setup was a little bit more delicate, allowed for the fish to run a little bit with the bait. And so here's what I used. I used a BVK, TFO BVK 3-weight 8-footer. It could be, you could have used any rod. I like a 3-weight or 2-weight for stuff like this, because a lot of the panfish right now are kind of small, on the small side that we're catching. But you could use up to a 5-weight if you wanted to. The reel that I'm using is a very simple Bat and Kill by Orvis. It's an old school one. It's great for fishing for panfish, and I use it a lot for dry fly fishing for trout too. The setup though is I had my floating line. My floating line on here like normal, and what I did actually, because of the light bite, I used actually my dry fly furled leader, or like a braided leader that's waxed, and so it floats. So that's about 3 feet long with a tippet on the end of it. And then actually what I did is I just dropped about a foot of line off the back of the tippet so that my fly would sink down. I used a wet fly, basically a sinking fly, would sink down about a foot or so, foot to 2 foot under the surface. And then this was floating on top. And it was a really delicate strike indicator. And I think that was really the difference today, because the fish could take it, not feel anything, not feel any resistance, and just go with it. And then I was just using a long, slow strip set to hook up. Lots of bites and less hookups than bites though today, because the bite was so light. I like this setup. The fly that I used was actually this fly, which is a green weenie. So that's my setup for today. Really simple, straightforward, extremely effective.